So let's jump down to college because the AP poll has dropped. Ryan, I'm trying to think. This looks pretty damn similar to the coaches poll we saw the other week. Like, I'm not seeing much difference between these two polls here. At least not inside the top 10.
Except for Texas. Well, I mean, the biggest difference, obviously, is Texas was in the last poll. I think they were 16th, somewhere around there in the coaches poll. And then in the AP, with a first-place vote, presumably from Steve Sarkisian, their head coach. And then in the AP poll, they're not even ranked.
Are we sure that one vote was not confusion? They thought they were voting for Texas A&M or something? Like they only had so many characters to write in.
Like I said, I think it was probably Sark, but it was funny. They were in the others receiving votes, though. They were second, so they'd be like 27th, right behind Tennessee, who was the top team to receive votes and not be.
All right, so stop me if you heard this one before, but the top three teams in the land, according to the AP poll, are Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. Like, I feel like it's Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, Clemson, take your pick, year in and year out. Maybe LSU sneaks in there every once in a while and then falls back off. But it just seems like it's, Alabama's to lose again. Pick your year and we're in it. Like, it's the same thing, just a different 2020 whatever.
Yeah, I mean, 54 of the 63 first-place votes Alabama got.
How does he keep getting away with this? How have they not found anything on this man?
He called last year a rebuild. He called last year a rebuilding year when they went 13-1 and played in the national title and won the SEC. He called it a rebuilding year. And now they're back with the Heisman winning quarterback from last year. So it makes sense, right? They have the best offense. I mean, you could think Bryce Young's the best quarterback in the country. I feel like most people do. And then they still have Will Anderson, who is probably the best defensive player in the country. So you have that. You have a nice little, staple on both ends. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw both those guys, in New York for the Heisman ceremony. I don't know. They're just so good every year. It's hard to bet against them, right? It's like when Tom Brady was on the Patriots and the Super Bowl odds would come out, and the Patriots are always probably in the top three. You're like, well, yeah, it makes sense. Just put some money on them. Because
I'd rather, I'm going to be more focused on seeing if Bryce Young can become the second to win back-to-back Heismans. Because it's been done once. Archie at Ohio State, Archie Griffin, only two-time winner of the Heisman. And I'm almost positive it was in back-to-back years. So, Bryce Young having a chance to do something that, only one other person has ever done. If he is the best quarterback for the best team, if Alabama goes undefeated and steamrolls their way to a national championship, I don't see how they don't give it to the quarterback if they're actually throwing the ball a bunch like Alabama's been doing over the last so many years, where they actually started finding real quarterbacks to be quarterbacks of these teams. If it's going to be another one of these years where Alabama just rolls, I'm going to be more focused on is their quarterback going to win the Heisman for the second time.
Yeah, so the thing that I guess might stop that from happening is apparently Alabama's receiving corps is not as good as it's been the past couple years. I mean, the past couple years has been ridiculous, right? You had John Mechie and Jamison Williams. And I think even
Waddle,
blanking on but I thought he was there last year too.
Just go back like the last 3 years. It's just been ridiculous.
All those guys. And then they gave whoever to Ohio State Ohio State came there, actually. Other way around, sorry. Jameson Williams came there from Ohio State and obviously tore the ceiling off college football. Apparently they don't have that this year, at least not yet, but it's Alabama. They recruit 5-star receivers every year. So I'm sure they'll just reload, and then we'll see somebody and be like, oh, okay, he's running a 4.2, and there he goes again. another touchdown. And by that point, it'll be moot. But they play, I'm pretty sure they play Texas in week 1 or week 0, like whatever, because college football does that weird week 0 thing. So they play Texas first. I think they should probably blow the doors off Texas, but it's not like they're playing Colorado State or
they saved the Citadel for like week 11.
So that's right. So I mean, we'll get to find out, I guess, pretty early, at least a decent taste of what this Alabama team can do. But it makes sense that they're obviously rated so high because you just look at the talent on their roster and you can throw a dart at a list of names and you'll hit a
we've done this so many times. Florida State and Alabama week 1 or week 0. Michigan and Alabama week 1 or week 0. USC and Alabama week 1 or week 0. What happens every time? Alabama rolls them.
They ducked Michigan State though. They're supposed to have a home and home, and then Alabama wanted it to be
in the neutral
at Alabama and then at Jerry World.
Neutral in the South. Yeah, okay. Let's have it be neutral at Lambeau or something. At least bring it up here to the elements, like neutral. Yeah,
neutral at Ford Field.
Yeah, well, treat it like the Final Four in 2009. It's neutral, but it's at Ford Field.
Right.
All right. Well, speaking of our Spartans and Wolverines, so. A little bit meaner to both of us, I think, on this, right? Wasn't Michigan like 6 in the coaches, and they're 8 in this one, and we were 14 in the coaches, and we're 15 in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a little meaner to both of us in this one.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about it on when the coaches poll came out and kind of our expectations for both teams, and I still feel like it's just about right for both of these teams. It seems like the AP is a little bit more skeptical about Michigan's defense probably than what the coaches were, because I think that's really the only way that you would dock Michigan. Not even necessarily if you think their defense is going to be bad, but just you don't know because their defense is unproven. And if like you're of the mindset, well, an unproven defense is just a bad defense until it's proven it's not bad, right? That would make sense to me for the small drop there, but. I mean, it should be an offense that puts up close to 40 points a game. Like, even if they run it as much as they did last year, they have, I think it was Pro Football Focus who just rated them like the best offensive line in the country. They have 2 really good running backs with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. And then you have a pretty good complement of receivers. I think Cornelius Johnson is the kid's name. Who's one of them who, kind of stepped up last year after Ronnie Bell went down, but Ronnie Bell's back. And at least, I mean, I know it's the talk out of practice that you're always going to get. But, of course, Ronnie Bell looks better than ever. It's like he never tore his ACL or whatever happened. And then Andrel Anthony, who was the true freshman last year, who played really well for them. And then one of the best tight ends in the country in Eric Hall. So, a pretty good offense Michigan should have. So even if their defense is bad, they should still be in most of these games. So I'll let you give your thoughts on Michigan.
I wanted to see, like you said, because we don't know as much about Michigan's defense. I want to see, when are we going to find out about Michigan's defense? Is it going to be early in the season where we're going to see? All right, so here we go with Michigan's schedule. Let me tell you how difficult this thing is. All right, Saturday, September 3rd, Colorado State comes to the Big House. No. All right, the following week, Hawaii comes to the Big House. Okay, no. Next week, after that, the 17th, UConn in the Military Appreciation Game at the Big House. Nope. Okay, well, then the following week, all right, we're starting Big Ten play with Powerhouse Maryland at the Big House. The entire month of September, Michigan goes nowhere. They don't leave Ann Arbor for the entire month until October 1st, when the seasons change and everything starts coming to roost. They have to go to Iowa in a rematch of a very one-sided Big Ten title game where Iowa had no offense whatsoever because they had no quarterback whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that non-quarterback is gone. At least, God, I hope so if you're an Iowa fan, because, man, that boy can't throw the ball. So we're not going to know anything.
Is there, for the Iowa time game? On that?
No.
Is there a time on
no,
that?
No, I'm not saying anything as far as the time.
Okay. I didn't think
the other ones are all noon, except for whatever reason, the Hawaii game is a night game. The second game of the season at the Big House is a 8 p.m. kickoff for Michigan versus the Rainbow Warriors.
Big time week 2 matchup against Hawaii.
We're not going to know anything for the first month.
Like you said,
we're not going to know anything for the first month. They're going to be number 4 in the country by the second week of September, and they're going to have put up 105 points and given up 13. And everyone's going to think this is the best team in the land because they didn't play anybody in the month of September.
I mean, they're they're probably going to put up closer to like 200 points with all those guys.
Like no. Sorry, I said first 2 games. I'm at 105 points in the first 2 games. Like they're not playing any. Like I don't want to take anything away from Maryland. At least they're the Big Ten, but their defense is not yeah. I mean,
Talia.
Talia's a senior now, right? This is his last year, I think. Yeah. So I mean, this is his last gas to do something and join his brother in the NFL, and he's gonna ball out. You would think he's got to learn some things. He put up plenty of numbers as a junior, just turn the ball over as well as a junior. So cutting down on those will definitely help Maryland's position. But I don't remember their defense being anything scary last year, and so I don't think Michigan's their defense. Yeah, might get tested a little bit by Maryland. Talia's on his game, but we've seen Michigan has no problem going up against Maryland. They haven't really at all. So, including when Talia's been there. So, we're not going to do anything for Michigan as far as how good their defense is in the first month. No chance.
No, I don't think they're going to have a problem with Iowa either. I think they should probably roll to 5-0 or 6-0. The only thing that I guess might get tricky with Iowa is if that's your first road game and it's on the road at night. Then I think it's probably a trap game or a tougher test than, of course, anything that they had seen previously. But even a tougher test than it looks like right now. But if it's like a 12 or a 3:30 kick, I don't expect them to have so much trouble with it. But if it's a night game at Iowa, your first time on the road, I don't know. It's just an environment that
they got to be contemplating a night game. Because the next week, October 8th, they're at Indiana, and it's at noon. They know what time it's at. They don't know the next game after that, the following week at Penn State. And then they have the bye after Penn State, and they got us. And then at Rutgers, they don't have the time for at Rutgers. But they have the time for Ohio State to end the year. That's always noon. I mean, that's just what they do. It's always a noon kickoff for Michigan and Ohio State. So that one's set in stone. But they don't have a lot of their late ones obviously set, except for whatever reason they know Indiana's going to be at noon.
Yeah, I mean, they DSN, posted a rumor that Michigan State, might be in that game this year. And that'd be at the Big House. So that wouldn't help Michigan State a whole lot, but it'd be cool for it to,
all right, and then we got our Spartans. So right now, according to the AP poll, they're 15th in the country. According to the coaches poll, they're 14th in the country. I don't care either way, considering last year coming into the season, we were 257th in the country. So I'm just stoked that Tuck and this team has gotten us to be, at least at the start of the season, there's some respect on our name. So I'll take that as opposed to what had been happening years before that. And Michigan State's going to get some much quicker tests than Michigan will. Starting at home against Western Michigan and Akron, those aren't the tests that I'm talking about. But then week 3, we got to go to Washington. Now, I don't know how good or bad of a team Washington is yet, but we're traveling week 3 to the complete other side of the country to take on the Huskies. So that's just tougher in general than having to stay at home for the first month of the season. So that should be at least giving us some idea of what these Spartans are going to be. Hopefully we hit it hard and often to start the season just like last year. Kenneth Walker, 75-yard touchdown to the house to start the season for Michigan State. I'm not going to put my expectations that high, Ryan. But, hopefully we're seeing some answers because, again, here we go again with the Michigan State football team in the running game. We got transfers. It's not really in-house. We got guys coming in from Wisconsin and Colorado, and we're going to see, what these guys are able to do. But I think we're going to see some earlier answers from Michigan State as far as what kind of team they are than what Michigan's going to have to deal with because they don't have to deal with anything for that first month of the season.
No, and these guys aren't going to be Kenneth Walker. I'm going to tell you that right now. That was what Kenneth Walker did, in my opinion, is the greatest season for a running back in Michigan State history. And the new transfers, well, I think they can be pretty good. Broussard especially. They're not going to be like what Kenneth Walker was. And Mel Tucker was talking, I think today or yesterday, about the transfers, and he obviously didn't say, hey, these guys aren't as good as Kenneth Walker, but he did talk about it we're just kind of happy we have all of them. He can do some things, where last year I feel it was more yeah, obviously this guy's like our guy. Like he's proven it in practice. He's been the man, and that's what we're gonna do. So this year I feel like there's a little bit less of that. Just because I think it's not as clear cut because these guys aren't as good as what as what K9 was at Michigan State. And then as far as the defense goes, it seems like there's kind of a lot of variance in where Michigan State was ranked. I think they're probably unranked on some of these AP polls, and the AP poll like total voting list is out, and you can find it just on Twitter and see how each of the voters, like who they put in their top 25. And Michigan State was unranked in some of those, and one they were as high as sixth. And then there were a lot of variance between like, are they 18 or are they 24? Or I'm sorry, like 8 and 24. So it seems like a lot of people don't really know what to expect from Michigan State this year, and for good reason. They have Peyton Thorne and Jaden Reed coming back, but they lost their Doak Walker winning running back, and then the defense wasn't very good last year, but they have some transfers this year who are hoping to come in and step up. So I think those transfers on the defensive end are going to be even more important than Broussard and Berger, who were the two running back transfers, because you got guys like Jacoby Windman and Aaron Brule who are supposed to come in and really kind of like solidify your pass rush and your front seven. And then you brought in Amir Speed from Georgia as well, who hopefully can, if all goes well, right, he's hopefully a starting cornerback on this team, because if he's losing out to any of the guys we had at corner last year, that's probably an issue. But come in and just help that pass defense that it might get a little bit tested against Western Michigan. I feel like Western Michigan always at least has a good passing offense. Not that I think they're going to beat Michigan State or anything, but I think Western Michigan is going to be a team that comes in and likes to throw the ball around. We saw that last year to the extreme when they played Western Kentucky with Bailey Zappi, who I think probably had even close to like 450 yards that game. If not more, he just threw it 65 times. So I think that's certainly going to be the recipe to beat Michigan State, and then especially for those two teams like you mentioned, Akron and Western. If you're going to upset Michigan State, you're probably not going to do it by grounding and pounding them. You're probably going to do it by getting behind their secondary and connecting on a couple big plays. So I think we'll probably see that early. And again, not that you can take everything away from how Michigan State's defense played Western Michigan, but you can assess at least the secondary performance a little bit and like, hey, were they beat? And like just the throw wasn't there, because if you got beat and then the quarterback didn't make the throw, well, CJ Stroud is going to make that throw. So how are you going to, you know what I mean? So like, how's that going to fare into the year when we get to, our toughest test obviously is going to be Ohio State. But you're right about the Washington game, where Washington wasn't very good last year, but it's still going on the road against the team who last year, fell short of expectations. Like, they were supposed to be pretty good, okay, and they're just really bad. So I guess kind of what Washington team shows up. Are they going to have a bounce back year, or are they just going to kind of lay down again?
I understand why there's confusion around Michigan State, because I don't know what we're going to have defensively at all. I do know this. Our offense better average about 35 points a game if we're going to have a good record, because I think they're going to need every bit of it. That secondary was so bad last year. Look, unless Amir Speed is literally as faster than his last name and can be everywhere at once, I think the secondary is still going to be a travesty this year. It might be better than last year, but that's really not saying much, because I'm pretty sure we were the worst secondary in all of college football, including like FCS and D2 and D3, and there might have been a few high school teams in there as well that had better secondaries.
Well, okay, that part I don't know about, but I think we were
it was bad.
Out of
it was real bad. So I understand that confusion.
FB or whatever.
Like the front seven is going to have to put in a lot of the work and get to the quarterback very, very quickly, and hope that our secondary was able to hold on to a wide receiver for 3 seconds while our line got to the quarterback. But that offense is going to have to carry the load, and I think we talked about this already, but I think Peyton Thorne's going to have to do more this year. He did plenty last year, and I think he learned and grew in the position. And I think we need to see the fruits of that this year. And I think it has to be a little bit more of, like when it was Ringer and Kulkrick, it was a balance a little bit. There was one who was, it was Ringer more than it was Kulkrick, but it wasn't It wasn't what we saw last year. And I think we need that, because it's too scary to depend on one workhorse like that, because football injuries happen. And if our running back goes down, if Kenneth Walker went down in like week 8 last year, we're probably not in a bowl game.
Well, I mean, again, just to your point, I know he's not on the team this year, but you just can't expect anybody to do what Kenneth Walker did last year. Like it was honestly such an amazing season that Kenneth Walker put together, and it's the reason Michigan State won 11 games. So you of course just can't.
I don't know if there's a better example of a guy literally being a one-year wonder. Where, like, when I say this, I mean, he had 1 year. He only had 1 year. There was no coming back for him. So it was 1 year to do what he had to do. And he did it in spades. So, like, I'm trying to think, like Burrow was at LSU before he became the starting quarterback at LSU. So he's not the 1 year. Like, he was there already. So, like, it's not, like, I don't know if there's a better example of 1 year, one shot, getting it done beyond anyone's belief or imagine.
I mean, Cam Newton, right, was that his first year at Auburn? I know he was at Florida, and then he went to a JUCO because of the laptop.
I thought he had to,
but
it might have been.
Like I think it was his own.
I still say Kenneth Walker's year was better.
I thought it was his only Auburn year. Maybe not. Well, okay, nothing. Cam Newton's
no Heisman, no national championship. Still had a better year.
But I see what you're saying.
We're just playing. We're just playing. But yeah, so we'll get an earlier test for Michigan State. Obviously, week 3, they're going out to Washington to play the Dogs, Huskies, Dogs, whatever you want to call them, out there on the West Coast. So that's obviously a different kind of test for the Spartans than anything that Michigan's going to see. And I'm not hating on Michigan's schedule. Props to you. You get to play. You don't got to go anywhere for the whole month of September. That's sweet. I'd wish that on the Spartans, but that's not the case. We'll get an earlier test to see what MSU's about than we will Michigan. I think, I'm expecting Michigan's going to have a pretty damn good year, and I hope we do too. And I hope we have one loss and it's just to Ohio State. Look, you say it's going to be a test. I think it's an SAT, and we're a 4-year-old with a crayon. Like, that's the kind of test that is like, we're going to fail the hell out of that test. Ohio State's just good. Just too good. I don't know how we do it.
Probably we play Ohio State before we play Michigan, so I doubt we'll see a battle of the undefeated.
Shoot,
again
if we do,
like we got last year,
we're gonna have a lot of fun on this show.
Ohio State's coming.
Yeah,
Ohio State's coming to East Lansing, though.
Doesn't always
Home
work
game,
in our
baby.
favor, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll set the world on fire this year. All right. We got to get out of here. We're going to see you guys again. You'll see us again on Friday. We'll be recording that for you guys on Thursday. Thank you for kicking it with Griffin and Bass. As always, Wu-Tang is for the children. We'll see y'all again real soon. Peace.
Boom.
Hey, Ryan Griffin here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from DSN and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.